Hello and welcome to Salford Now. I'm Hadassah Daniels.
And I'm Stephen Hayward. Coming up in today's show.
You kept saying there was like woodlouse everywhere, and they were everywhere, weren't they? Like you couldn't walk around with no shoes on because you just step on it. And then like he gave us this like portable heater, you know, like the little plug-in ones that are like that big. And he's like, oh, just point it at them and they'll die.
Coming up in today's show, we will have a report on a pair of students who will be fighting with their landlord to help fix their living conditions.
We will also be bringing you a roundup of the festivities that took place at Shock Radio this week in preparation for Comic Relief this Friday.
The start of where it all is going to go down.
Today is St Patrick's Day. We're celebrating here at the Dockyard.
And we'll also be giving you the latest on the sport in Salford.
Perfect. Press it again.
Comic Relief is back on your TV screens tomorrow night, and for the first time it will be broadcast live from its new home in Media City. The University of Salford's very own Shock Radio has taken inspiration from BBC Radio 1's Lolathon and recently hosted a 24-hour comedy radio broadcast. Katie Brown tells us the tale from the comedy campsite.
Salford-based radio station Shock Radio has taken on its biggest mental and physical challenge to date, all in aid of raising money for Comic Relief. Presenters of Shock's Up For It radio show, Joe Lander and Courtney Holder, hosted the unconventional fundraiser, broadcasting live for a whole 24-hour event called Comedy Campsite.
Much comedy yet?
Joe, I'm hilarious. What do you mean?
Well,
Beginning, the start of where it all is going to go down.
From the SU all day.
And all night.
Yeah, and you can come and catch us.
Because it's such a great cause, like, especially like what they do is to help a lot of children and people in poverty. And obviously, like, this year with what's happening in Ukraine, that's like a lot of their effort is going to help the people in Ukraine, and they're obviously, like, what's happening is horrible. It's so terrible. It's like, you know, it's not something we ever thought we were going to see happen.
And one of Comic Relief's subsidiaries, I sort of grew up in poverty, and I was helped by sort of that funds. So it's almost like I want to give back to that.
The campsite was pitched down at Salford Student Union, involving comedians, performances, and also many of the station's shows and members, such as the girls group chat, Connor Gill,
you can by following the link www.shockradio.co.uk,
and Alex Charles.
I've also done a 25k row, so my legs right now are very, like, in much severe pain.
And I just hope it just continues raising money, and we keep trying to raise awareness for stuff as well, especially with all the conflicts that are going on in the world right now.
Like this, it means that everyone's all together, we get to collaborate, and we get to share our sort of love for student radio, and we're also raising money at the same time, so it's just fantastic all round.
Manchester's biggest student station say that now the sky is the limit and anything is possible to raise money when you care just enough.
We earned £360. We earned as many pounds as there are degrees in a circle.
Katie Brown, Salford Now.
Now, as students, we all have our experiences with landlords. But one pair of students, however, have had a particularly difficult experience with their landlord, as our reporter Liz Grattan tells us.
Although this isn't the house that Jack built, university student Jack Lewin has been living at this property with his 4 other housemates for 2 years.
As soon as when we moved into the house, so we noticed that we didn't have any bins whatsoever. So the council sort of basically said the property was blacklisted because the previous tenants weren't using the bins correctly, maybe. But that isn't our fault. And meanwhile, we had like rubbish piling up in the house, which led to like mice. So we had pest control come in, but then again, they still didn't really do that much. They just told us to keep the house clean, which we did, and they put a few traps down, but as far as I'm aware, it really hasn't made any difference because the mice are still in the house. My room's like the worst room in the house, but there was a leak. It was leaking through my light. I couldn't really turn on my lights, my big light, until it got fixed. And then when they sorted it out, they didn't actually sort it out because the next winter it happened again. I think the landlord has realised how bad the lettings agency was, because I feel like the landlord did an inspection of the house and saw all the things that were wrong with it, and we were like, yeah, we've reported all of these things. I think they've hired a new lettings agency now, which is a bit more prompt in their responses to things.
However, when I tried to find Jack's previous letting agency, which was called Friends Letting, it showed that the company was permanently closed. Whilst looking through student Facebook groups and posting statuses asking for any information on poor student housing, I had a few messages regarding a particular landlord in Fallowfield, Manchester. Unfortunately, the landlord didn't reply when I emailed him for an interview, but 2 ex-tenants of his were very keen to talk.
It was like a massive woodlouse infestation. We kept saying there's like woodlouse everywhere, and they were everywhere, weren't they? Like you couldn't walk around with no shoes on because you'd just step on them. And then like he gave us this like portable heater, and he's like, "Oh, just point it at them and they'll die." The washing machine didn't work like at all for like 5 weeks. We had to go to the laundrette, and you just sending in messages like, when you're coming to fix it, when you're coming to fix it, and it was just like one excuse after another as to why you couldn't come and fix it.
We had mice, didn't we, throughout the year, and then he was basically blaming us because we kept the toaster out, and that like attracts the mice.
After living in their house in Fallowfield, Daniel and Emma moved out. They were then accused of owing £1,000's worth of damages to the property and accused of owing a whopping £3,000 worth of energy bills.
We had £1,600 threshold for the bills.
Yeah, we spent like 1,200 or something.
It was something like that. And then we proved to him that we were well under it because we got in contact with the energy company, and he just essentially refused to believe it.
After issuing the landlord with a court summoning, they got their deposit back. But why do landlords and letting agencies treat students like this?
That the landlords maybe think that they get away with being a bit slack because they think, oh, it's just students, like they're young people, they can basically maybe like take advantage of it and sort of exploit student situations, because obviously a lot of students don't have that much money, and a lot of students are quite young and they haven't had like the world experience or the confidence to speak up for themselves. So I feel like lots of landlords do.
And now for today's headlines. British journalist Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe has returned to the UK after being detained in Iran for the past 6 years. The 43-year-old and another detainee, Anousheh Ashouri, were met at RAF Brize Norton. Mrs Zaghari-Ratcliffe had been in Iran since 2016 after being accused of overthrowing or attempting to overthrow the Iranian government. And her fellow British Iranian citizen had been detained on spying charges since 2017. The release came after the UK settled a debt to Iran of almost £400 million dating from the 1970s, when Iran ordered British tanks and armoured vehicles. A member of the Ratcliffe family shared that a little girl has finally got her mummy back, alongside a picture of the family all together again.
The UK has announced that it will be deploying a missile system as well as 100 troops into Poland. This comes in the same week as the deaths of people training based near a major crossing point for Ukrainian refugees. The Defence Secretary Ben Wallace has told a news to make sure that we stand alongside Poland, protecting her airspace from any further aggression by Russia. Whereas here in Salford, the university is continuing to play its part in helping Ukrainian refugees by collecting donations in partnership with Foundation 92. The donation box located on the ground floor of the university's Media City campus is still accepting varying charitable items from students. Recently, Salford City Mayor Paul Dennett announced plans for a new landmark destination to arrive at Salford Quays by 2030. The waterfront town centre will include an all-weather pavilion as well as cafes, restaurants and independent businesses. However, our reporter Grace Clark spoke to some residents who weren't too pleased with the plans.
I don't think it's needed here, no. I'm not totally against it, but no, I think things are fine as they are, because I mean there are even things closed down inside there, so...
I don't think we need it, no. I do think there are a lot of shops, but obviously they're not all doing that great, so I do think maybe other ones might help the Lowry a bit more.
I think that's great, because they don't have that many shops around here.
What kind of stuff do you think is missing from somewhere like here?
I'm not too sure, because there's a lot of restaurants. There are a lot of shops, they're just not all that lively.
I think really the only thing is that there's no food shop in there, but you know, you can always go to booths over there.
Starbucks, they don't have one around here. Yeah, they don't have one around anywhere in Salford, so Starbucks would be great.
As mentioned earlier in the bulletin, Salford City Council has set up an online consultation to allow residents to vote on how they want their homes to become carbon neutral. Our reporter Jess Blackburn is here in the studio to tell us more. So Jess, what is Zero Carbon Vote?
So the UK government wants the UK to become carbon neutral by 2050, although Greater Manchester has pledged to make this happen by 2038. Essentially, the zero carbon vote is set up by the Energy Systems Catapult, which is a non-for-profit organisation set up by the government, and it's an online consultation that Salford residents can complete to tell the council what sort of carbon neutral options they want to see in their homes and areas where they live.
Brilliant. So what are the new carbon neutral heating options?
So the heat options will include things like a heat pump, storage heater and hydrogen boiler, and all of these methods have different cost, prices and levels of disruption to install so that residents can choose the option that they feel is the best for them.
Great. Have Salford City said anything about how they feel about this?
So Salford and Manchester City Council have put a great emphasis on residents being able to choose which method they feel is the best for them, and they put a big emphasis on working together to create the best possible plan for becoming carbon neutral. In fact, Peter Openshaw, the Strategic Director of Place Directorate at Salford City Council, has said to be successful in any transition, we all need to work together, and it is vital to understand how our residents want to see this change implemented.
And how can people get involved in this?
So the vote can be completed until the 15th of November this year at zerocarbon.vote. It's very easy. All you have to do is put in your postcode and then the option to vote will come up for you.
Great. Thanks so much, Jess.
Now, I'm sure you all know what day it is today. It is the day where pints of Guinness are poured all day long, and the green is the colour to be wearing, as you can see from me. Yes, of course it's St Patrick's Day, and we can now join our sport reporters Sophie Green and Adam Gooseman, who are giving us an update on the sport from this week, as well as kicking off the celebrations with a race like no other. Have you got those pints yet, guys?
Ready? Come on, guys.
Thank you. Now here for the latest on sport.
First, in the football, Salford City maintain their superb run of form, extending their unbeaten run to 7 league games with a 1-1 draw with Rochdale in the week. They face bottom of the league Scunthorpe on Saturday, with a win needed to boost their promotion aspirations.
Salford Red Devils go against Leeds Rhinos tomorrow at the AJ Bell Stadium, where they have previously lost their 3 past games, so hopefully tomorrow they'll come in with the win.
And Varsity 2022 is back next Wednesday at Salford University, where they take on Chester University in a series of contests to see which uni comes out the best. Women's netball and men's football start them off at 3 p.m.
Now, what better way to celebrate St Paddy's Day than with a Guinness?
Oh yeah.
We're going to compete to see who can down with Guinness the fastest.
Go on.
Are you ready?
Let's get them. Let's see.
There you go. There you
go. Adam versus Sophie.
Let's
Ready?
Go.
Cheers. Back to you in the studio.
That's it from us today.
We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Mm.